This week's From the Heart is being brought to you by Karen and myself sitting in our youth room. We thought that this would be a little something different, and our sanctuary is real clean at the moment, and so we just wanted to be in here. And we thought, since there's a real comfortable couch sitting here, that we would just try it out. And you know what? It is pretty comfortable. And when we finish, we could take a nap. But we'll see. But this evening, what we would like to do is we would like to ask you to help us out. This weekend is Mother's Day. And I know that this is going to be a different Mother's Day. I know that it is. But you know, we thought about asking if you guys would do something for us. We asked that you would send us pictures of your moms. Maybe a picture that you and your mom is in, or you and your brothers and sisters and your mom, or a funny picture of mom or something. And what we're going to do is we're going to take and we're going to put those on our Facebook page. And you can do that. You can post something to the Facebook page. But if you would like, you could either send it to Karen or you can send it to me. And I will pass it along to Karen. And we will make sure that it shows up on our Facebook, the Mount Hebron Wesleyan Church Facebook page. We will make sure that happens. So we ask that if you would help us out with that. But really, this has been a sad week. Miss Faye Bergen has passed. Faye was such a wonderful, godly lady. But it's like you cannot say her name alone. You have to say it in conjunction with Carter. Because it was always Carter and Faye. But you know what? They were inseparable here on earth. But guess what? They're back together now in heaven. And there with Jesus. I tell you what I was most amazed at is this disease that Faye has dealt with for quite a few years, dementia. It took its toll on Faye, but it didn't take its toll on the Faye that was God's. Do you realize that while she was in the nursing facility, she folded others' laundry, she cleaned the dining room after she would finish eating, she walked around and she visited with others, and she done it all with a smile on her face. Anna Rowland, one of our kids here at Mount Hebron, for a time worked over there, and this is what she said. She said, some days I would go in over at Rose Hill, and she said I would be down, something would be going on, and I wouldn't be in a good place, and she said I would get up to the floor and I would run into Faye. And it didn't matter what my day had been like. When I ran into Faye, I started smiling. You know, Faye didn't know a lot at that point, but Jesus was still shining through. You see, Faye's legacy, as well as Carter's, continues to live on through us. The difference they made in our lives, it will never be forgotten. So we want to take just a moment and we want to remember Miss Faye Bergen for all the love, for all the smiles that she brought to each and every one of us. We also have a few requests that we would like to share with you tonight. We ask that you continue praying for David Lytle, Joe McPherson, Melissa Biddix. For those of you who may not know, Melissa the other night, during the night, was having some abdomen pain. She went to the hospital, found out that it was her appendix. She had surgery, and then by the next morning, she was already home. And so we thank the Lord that she has gotten along great, but we do ask that you please keep Melissa in your prayers. We also ask that you continue praying for Joey Bartlett. Joey is kin to Jada Russell as well as Loretta Lytle. And we ask that you would remember Joey because he has been having some pretty massive seizures, and we ask that you please keep him in your prayers. And we also ask that you continue praying for our nation, our state, our local leaders, and all those that are dealing with the coronavirus, either by sickness, loss of job, or whatever. We also ask that you would remember all the churches as we begin planning to reopen in the near future. As far as the coronavirus, we have entered into phase 1 of our state reopening. Really, the only difference is more stores are opening, as well as parks, as well as national parks. All social distancing precautions are still in place, and indoor meetings continue to have a cap limit on of 10. Our prayer is that in 2 to 3 weeks, we can enter into phase 2, which will then allow an increase in gathering sizes. So please pray with us that this will continue to happen. I want to take just a moment and just thank you once again for continuing to send in your tithes and offerings. We are so very thankful for how you folks have continued to send in your tithes, because your tithes is how our church continues to go forward, how it continues to minister, how it continues to get ready for when we will all be together worshiping in church once again. And so we thank you for your giving and ask that you would please continue with that. We also want everybody to continue to realize that if you are in need of assistance, we ask that you please call me. We have people that are ready, willing, and able, standing by. If there is a need that you have, we will do our best to take care of that need. But we can't do anything about it unless you let us know. So please let us know. We have on Saturday our Mother's Day sermon that we'll post for this weekend, our sermon of the week. It will be posting on Saturday. We ask that you look out for next Tuesday when our Bible study for the week posts. We are going to be looking at what salvation means to you. What does salvation mean to you? Now, somebody might stop and go, well, Todd, well, listen, check this out. Depending on where you were when Jesus came into your life will depend on really what you think of when you think of salvation. Some people might think that, oh, Jesus literally saved my life. Maybe some people would say, Jesus gave me hope. Jesus showed me love. Jesus taught me that I'm never alone. You see, we all have a different story. And what we're going to do is we're going to look at 3 characters from the Bible. And we will look at what salvation meant to each one of those. And as we come to the close here this evening, just looking at my notes to make sure I've covered everything. But as we come to the close of this session from the heart, we want to leave you with a devotional. Again, it is coming from the Experience, a devotion and journal written by Henry Blackaby and his son Richard. The devotion for this evening comes from the book of Ephesians, chapter 4, verse 1. As a prisoner for the Lord, then, I urge you to live a life worthy of the calling you have received. The phrase I want you to think about this evening: to live your life worthy of the calling you have received. Ephesians 4, verse 1. Some people seem to sense early on in life what they are called to do. Have you ever heard people say, since I was in elementary school, I always knew I'd be a fill in the blank? Others go through their entire lives searching for their calling. Some people assume they haven't been called to anything in particular. Paul explains that each and every Christian has received a calling. As a Christian, your calling is to glorify God with your life. Going back to our scripture verse, check out that. Check out what Paul says. Your calling is to glorify God with your life. Regardless of what vocation you take, your calling remains the same. Pastors, missionaries, youth leaders, student ministers are not the only ones God has called into the ministry. They may have been called to a more visible ministry than others, but they are not the only ones with a calling. There are Christian school teachers who have realized that their calling was to honor God, and over the years they have encouraged many students who pass through their classroom. Christian police officers and lawyers have realized that they were called to represent Christ in the world of criminal justice. Parents have understood that they were called to model a Christian lifestyle for their children. Whatever vocation God leads you to or into, whether it be a dentist, a doctor, a plumber, or a trapeze artist, keep your eyes fixed on your calling to honor God with your life. Whether you're repairing teeth, bodies, or sinks, you'll have endless possibilities to show others what Christ is like by your example. Always keep Paul's advice in mind and live a life worthy of your calling. Live a life worthy of your calling. I hope this evening that you have a great evening. And I hope that each of you remember that our call is to let Jesus shine through us. Praying for each of you and love you very much. Have a good evening.